Hello and welcome to the Teach Mindfulness podcast. This session, I want to talk about the value of being flexibly present and how to teach your students how to be present in a flexible way. So, first of all, when people think about mindfulness, they often, if there's one word that they're going to associate with mindfulness, it's about being present, being in the present moment. And that's as if we can only sometimes be in the present moment, and most of the time we're caught in the past and the future. But if you think about it a little bit deeper, we're always in the present moment. When can you think about the past? You can only think about the past right now. When can you think about the future? Again, it's only in the now. So, although we talk about being present, we don't mean in that sense of thinking, but actually connecting our senses with the here and now and about being present in a certain way. First of all, being flexibly present, and that means being able to move our attention so it's not caught. If you're watching a really interesting TV program or playing a computer game, your attention is in some sense in the present moment, but it's not fully voluntarily in the present moment, and you're not consciously present. It's kind of that as if your attention is caught. What we're teaching in mindfulness is to voluntarily, flexibly, and fluidly come into the present moment and to actually choose to do it and do it in a conscious way. So it's important to be clear about that when you're sharing and teaching mindfulness. Now, again, most people think in terms of mindfulness, one way to develop present moment awareness is meditations, which are great when people can do them. And if you've got a group of people or an individual who's particularly committed, then they may be up for doing the mindfulness meditations with you and also may be committed enough to do them in their own time. But that's leaning more towards the exception than the rule, actually. For the majority of the population, they're not going to be taking time out to practice long or even medium length meditations. And so we need to be able to make it accessible. And there's no rule book to say that you must do a certain length of meditation every day to come into the present moment. There's always an opportunity to come into the present moment. So even right here and now, as you're listening to the podcast, it can be a mindful practice, and you can develop your skills of being present just by setting the intention to be as present as you can as you're listening to my voice. And you need to share this with your students too. Students can quite easily get dismayed thinking that they need to practice and be in the present moment for long lengths of time. And if they can't achieve that, they've failed. Emphasize to them the value of small practices, even a few seconds, 5, 10, 20 seconds, where they feel just one in and out breath or a few breaths. It's valuable because of who knows what effect that will have. Our lives are made up of these tiny moments, and sometimes these little moments are really significant. A little smile that someone gives you when you look into the eyes of someone, or you catch the beautiful flower on an autumn morning or something, or a spring morning more like. These little moments actually do add up and make a difference, and our lives are made up of these moments. So emphasize the value of small, because of most of us set ourselves up for failure by trying to aim too high. You can also make mindfulness into a bit of a game for your students. For example, when they go for a walk, you can invite them to look for a certain color, like look out for everything that you notice that's green. And they can look out for the trees and maybe the odd bird, weed. As they're walking down the street or walking to work, they can make that into a little bit of a game, and they might be more likely to be present when they do that. And talking about walking, you can share and teach mindful walking as a practice for being present. Mindful movement or stretches can be done present. All the everyday activities we do, from eating, everything apart from, I guess, sleeping. You can do a little bit of mindfulness as you go to sleep, but once you're asleep, that's it. So be creative in this. Don't limit yourself just to the standardized meditations that you may have been taught. And, eating a raisin in a mindful way is the only ways to be present. Invite your classes, your students, your client to be present in a whole range of different ways. And you can start by just connecting with the senses, going through each of the senses and getting them to connect with that, getting them to be conscious of their bodily sensations, their feelings, and their thoughts as they're coming up, and noticing how the mind does wander off and come back. And that's just very much a natural process. And letting your students know again and again that that's okay, that's fine, that's the way the mind works. Don't drag your attention back, but just very kindly notice it. And the very act of noticing it will be an act of coming back to the present moment. Okay, so that's how to teach, some ways of teaching how to be flexibly present. Thanks for listening. Check out our websites, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.